here are some guys who I think you should really consider when it comes time to drafting. Let's say Patrick Mahomes is off the board, Jalen Hurts, all the guys that we had in our tier one. I would take a risk. I didn't give him the respect he deserved in my tiers. Kenny Pickett. I think Kenny Pickett deserves it. I think he should have a year leap. He could be a 10th, 11th, potentially 12th round pick. He could potentially be your backup that you potentially trade to get some talent. Maybe you trade your starting one. I also think that this is an obvious one, but Justin Fields, that's the worst kept secret in fantasy football is how good he'll be. And then also, this is like, he's going to be both on my sleeper and my stay away list. Sean Watson. We went over it again. Like, if we're talking about somebody who in Houston had a terrible offensive line, terrible running game, receivers, yes, he had D-Hop and Will Fuller, but overall, not a very good roster, terrible management. Well, now he gets Kevin Stefanski, good head coach, best offensive line in football, arguably the best running back in football. You have Amari Cooper, you have Elijah Moore, you have David Njoku, you have a bunch of talent, easily the most talented offensive weapons he's ever had, offensive pedigree. So here's a guy, it's like 8th or 9th round.
I missed that phrase.
You could potentially get the best quarterback steal in the draft by a mile, but you could also really whiff. So make sure you draft him late if you draft him.
Yeah, for Deshaun.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And then I have a sleeper who may not start right away, but if you have him on your bench, he could have huge boom potential, but he could always have big bust potential. So it's like any investment, do your research, be very careful. This is not financial advice. If you could lose money on this in your fantasy league, Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson is one of those guys that could be a god on his running ability alone, because if he's not the strongest thrower of the football, he'll definitely be the biggest and strongest guy on the field. Anthony Richardson is someone who will look dead eye to a linebacker and be like, you come here. And then I'm just going to rub my shoulder through you and then run for the touchdown. So it's like someone who's a sleeper who we haven't talked about, and I want to shout him out, as Anthony Richardson. And then the biggest sleeper, just because I'm looking at this pro football list and he's in tier 4, Geno Smith. Why is Geno Smith finishing 5th last year with inferior talent than he has compared to what he has this year? And then you're going to have him finishing 4th. So someone who you can get all the way at the bottom of the draft, people are still going to be iffy on Geno Smith. Like, no, Geno Smith is not a risk. He is a sleeping giant, and he's someone who'll be able to potentially take you to the promised land and will probably be fighting for a division title all the way to the end of the season. So his stats should be fairly consistent all year long. But is Geno Smith suddenly going to forget everything that he did last year? Like, no, he had sound fundamentals. He was good at making reads, and he made smart throws. And Pete Carroll is still one of the best coaches in the league. So Geno Smith.